What is the Knights Templars' connection to Freemasonry? Have you ever wondered how the Knights Templar and Freemasonry might be linked? Many people are curious about this connection, especially since both groups have fascinating histories. However, when we look closely at the facts, the relationship is not as straightforward as it may seem. The Knights Templar were founded in the early 12th century and operated until their disbandment in the early 14th century. They were a military order known for their role during the Crusades. On the other hand, organized Freemasonry emerged much later, with its first Grand Lodge established in the early 18th century. This means there is a significant gap between the two groups. Archaeological evidence shows no direct link between the Knights Templar and the origins of Freemasonry. There are no artifacts, documents, or structures that connect them in a historical sense. Instead, the idea of a connection is largely a product of myths that developed in the 18th century. In the 1700s, Freemasonry began incorporating Templar symbols and themes into its rituals. This was not because of a historical relationship, but rather to add a sense of prestige and tradition. The Order of the Temple is one example of how Masonic groups adopted imagery associated with the Templars. Some historical figures, like Chevalier Ramsay, promoted narratives that linked Freemasonry to the Knights Templar and other Crusader orders. However, these claims lack solid evidence. Archaeological records do not support the idea that Templar sites influenced early Masonic lodges. When examining sites associated with the Knights Templar, archaeologists focus on material culture, such as building techniques and tools used in construction. They do not rely on unverified legends. For instance, Rosslyn Chapel is often mentioned in discussions about Templar influence, but its carvings reflected styles from the 15th century, not the practices of the Templars or Freemasons. In Freemasonry, symbols like the cross and sword are reinterpretations of medieval themes. They do not representing a direct inheritance from Templar artifacts. The connection between the Knights Templar and Freemasonry is more about shared themes in popular culture than about any historical reality. In summary, while the Knights Templar and Freemasonry share some thematic elements, their histories are distinct. The connection between the two is a construct of later periods rather than a reflection of historical continuity.